Faster than writing to a letter forum, more thoughtful than angry clickbait, able to discuss the world's first superhero in comics, film, TV, and more. It's the Supermaniacs, and we are ready to talk about some Supergirl comics. Specifically, the first 4 issues of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, the story that this year's DCU film Supergirl will be based on. So, I'm Fatheree, this is Mike. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. I have never read this, and I'm starting to remember why I hadn't originally while reading it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so the story is by a writer that a lot of people have issues with, that I think you and I have both discussed issues with. Like, anyone who's ever read Heroes in Crisis has issues with Tom King. So.
Yes, or a lot of his Batman run. The thing, Tom King is a very interesting writer because he is the kind of writer that, depending on who you ask, you'll get very different answers. Whether the one answer will be like, well, he's one of the greatest writers ever, because they read Mr. Miracle, they read this, they read Up in the Sky, and then you talk to them, they're like, he's the worst person ever, and I hope he dies, type of thing, because they read Heroes in Crisis, they read a lot of his Batman run, and depending on who you ask, they read his Adam Strange thing, and Human Target was the other one. Human Target was the one that people don't like as well. And this in my opinion, I get why it's beloved, but I get why some might have issue with it, if that makes sense. But
yeah,
we're only talking about the first 4, by the way, so we're not going to go
right.
I'm not going to be like talk about plot points that happen in issue 7 or 8 or whatever, because I don't know what happens. This is one of the few Superman things I never read right away, mostly because I wasn't super in love with it the first time I started it. Now reading it again, because I know how it ends now, kind of. But
yeah,
at the time I didn't, which is why what I read worried me.
I think we should just say like the big, well, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't say the big, I don't know, the big spoiler in regards to Crypto's function in the story.
Yeah, that's the one thing I would say. Crypto doesn't die in the story, but the first half of you really wants you to think he did.
Yes. And there's actually a moment in the second issue, one of the last pages, that when we get to that point in the story, we'll talk our way through these first 4 issues. When we come to this point, I'll bring it up. But it's actually the first time I was reading Woman of Tomorrow. I know the exact point. I can point to like the panel on the page. This is where I put the comic down. This is where I stopped, because I thought it meant like Crypto was a goner, and I was like, nope, I am not going any forward into this story. F you, Tom King. I do not need this.
Yeah, for people who don't know, when this was coming out, there was also a series called Future State coming out at the same time. Or not series, but it was an event called Future State. And it was the remnants of 5G, which is a time frame that Dan Didio wanted to do, where it was supposed to be the far-flung future. So everybody's older. Their superheroes are in a different state. There's a Supergirl future state with Crypto's grave in it. And so I thought it was telling me that he was going to die in the story, and I was like, no. I was like, fuck that. And so it spooked me away from reading the story, knowing what I know now. It's kind of the way Superior Spider-Man is. When I read Superior Spider-Man at the time, I hated it, but as knowing how it ends, I went back and was like, you know what, this is actually pretty good. And that's kind of where I'm at with this, sort of. There's another thing that bothers me, but it's such a Tom King thing. We'll get to it in a second. But you guys know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, the main thing with Tom King, I guess, is that he kind of only has like one superhero story to tell. Like how people who make fun of AC/DC, they're like, oh yeah, they're like one band who just plays like the same song over and over again. That's kind of how I feel about Tom King's writing. Every story I've ever read from Tom King, it's always about like a superhero's trauma. He's like, oh, I'm going to do a Vision story for Marvel. Well, what kind of trauma does Vision have going on in his head? Or like, oh, I'm going to do a Batman story for DC. So okay, I can write 100 issues unpacking all of this guy's trauma. And then it gets cut short because it was so depressing that people stopped reading Batman and he couldn't even make it to the full 100 issues of his planned run. But
yeah, there's a lot of his Batman run I liked, and there's a lot of it I didn't like. Although it's funny because I found out afterwards that his Alfred thing was supposed to be a fake out, but the editorial made him make it real. And
yeah,
he's just as surprised as everyone else that Alfred's still dead.
yeah, that is not entirely his fault.
Yeah, I honestly, when you read that story, you're like, yeah, this is a fake out, right? This is clearly a fake out. And the fact the story doesn't decide to go, by the way, it's a fake out, is legitimately like the most surprising thing about the story. But sorry, that's not what we're talking about. But Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is Supergirl in True Grit, is basically what this is. I didn't realize it until I was rereading it again, because I've had people talk to me and they're like, well, you know, she's more of a Furiosa type. Like, no, she's more of a Rooster Cogburn
Yeah, totally.
than anything else. And honestly, I kind of love it.
No, if I don't know if Tom King's ever commented on that, but if he told me he wrote the story without thinking about True Grit at all, I would say bullshit.
Oh yeah, it's impossible. I literally started reading it, and then about like halfway through issue 2, I was just like, is this True Grit? Like, that's what this is. It's like, because for people who don't know what True Grit is, it's a book, first of all, but there's 2 very famous movies. One is the John Wayne one, which also has a very, very weird sequel. And the other is the 2010, I want to say.
Yeah, the Coen Brothers one.
The Coen Brothers one. That was actually, a lot of it was filmed here in Austin.
Yeah, yeah.
For a lot of people who don't know that. In fact, I remember I took a tour of the studio and they were like, right over there is where the snake pit was. But it's about a girl who has like whose family has like a hired hand who kills her father, and he runs off and nobody can reach him. And he's outside of the sheriff's authority. So she needs help to get revenge on this guy. And she shows that she's got real grit and hires Rooster Cogburn. And the 2 of them go on a quest to fucking take this guy out. And that really is the plot of this. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's the fucking plot of this story. The only difference is that they didn't hire Krem. He stayed the night, but it's very similar in that fact. And the fact that they're farmers and everything. Like, it's crazy just how similar the whole thing is. You muted.
Sorry. But yeah, I had not connected those dots either until like just a moment ago when you said True Grit. But like as soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, 100%.
I'm also not saying that is a bad thing, because I like True Grit a lot.
Yeah, I think most people would consider it one of the well, either movie I would consider. Oh yeah, that's one of the great Western classics.
It really is, which is why it's weird that they made a weird sequel to it in the old one. But a lot of people don't know.
It's called like Rooster Cockburn and the Lady or something like that.
Yeah, Rooster Cogburn, and there's a version which is called Rooster Cogburn and the Lady, and it's him and Katharine Hepburn, and it's pretty dumb.
I never watched it because everyone always told me it was stupid. So
it's stupid as shit. It's what happens when somebody's like, this did really well, let's make a sequel.
Yeah, let's just pump out a sequel.
Because people for some reason think that's a fairly recent thing. No, that was a thing that happened for years. Like, that's what makes it so funny. But because it's just like, let's make it a lighthearted character. You're like, Rooster Cockburn is not a lighthearted character. What the fuck is wrong with you? Which, ironically enough, I feel like Supergirl is closer to the sequel Rooster Cogburn in real continuity than Norma Rooster Cogburn as she is in here, because this version of her is, I think, probably one of the best versions of her I've ever read.
And I think this is largely going to be the inspiration for Millie Alcock's performance in the DCU, because they are using this story as the inspiration for her big movie this year.
And I get it when reading it, because because like you said, Tom King is very good at trauma, and this comic likes to it doesn't explore it through Supergirl per se. This is what I found fascinating about the story. This is a Supergirl story, but it's not really a Supergirl story at the same time. This is the way True Grit is, where it's through the eyes of this girl who's watching Supergirl go through this trauma, like relive some of this trauma through her, which is really interesting to unpack. And I also see why the story is the one that they wanted to go with, because this is the most different Supergirl has ever. I'm not gonna say ever, because that sounds disingenuous. This is one of the more different Supergirl like than Superman stories out there, because there's so many moments that happen in it where if it was a Superman story, the thing would be like, and then Superman saved everyone. No one, like, whenever he's there, no one has to die type of storylines, where this isn't that, which I found fucking fascinating.
Yeah, in a Superman story, you know everything is going to be okay at the end of the story. And it might be an exciting time getting there, like, oh my god, how the hell is Superman going to fix everything? But you know it's all going to work out in the end. And, you know, maybe in the middle of a riveting scene, you might forget that, but eventually you'll remember it again. Everything's going to work out in the end in a Superman story. But yeah, with Supergirl, she's a very different character. Like, who the hell knows? Like, and maybe she'll falter. Maybe she'll make mistakes, or, you know.
There's a great moment in issue 4, I think, if I recall, where they're chasing after some people. I won't fully go into it per se, but somebody dies by the people of the planet, and Ruthie even says, I thought you were gonna, like, I don't know, save that guy. And she's like, why?
Yeah.
Whereas if this was a Superman story, just before that guy was gonna get fucking, like, annihilated by the people of that planet, Superman would have walked in front of them going, no, people, we're better than this type of thing. It would have been a whole speech. It would have been like 3 or 4 pages of him being like, we have to show that we're better than them. Instead, Supergirl's like, fuck that guy. I was like, what? Whoa. I was like, whoa.
But yeah, I'll be curious to hear your opinions on some of the stuff after you've read the entire 8 issues. Because I just noticed, like, rereading it, there's a lot of things in especially in, like, issue 1 that get referenced again later, or, you know, there's kind of like some like callbacks and stuff. So even with like some of the art, like there's some like visual similarities between like the first page and the last page of the story. But yeah, I guess I'll say this about like Tom King, is that he's a writer that I frequently get frustrated with his creative choices, but I also really appreciate that he uses the comic book medium extremely well. Like I feel like in his scripts, he must give these artists like these very detailed descriptions of panel layouts, and he seems to, you know, put a lot of thought into creating moments that that comics can do better than anything else. Like, he'll have visuals, but then have like a character's internal monologue that is describing something very different than what you're seeing, but thematically it lines up. And I don't know, he's a pretty good writer in terms of just like using the medium well. But
well, yeah, he's one of the few writers that looks at comics and doesn't look at it the way some writers do, where they're like, well, it's like if you're writing TV and movies, and you just you could just do a little more than you could normally do. He's like, I'm gonna go all the fucking way we're gonna have some weird shit going on type of thing. Is like we're gonna have some like this planet's gonna be. It's not gonna be like an Earth planet. It's not gonna be like a modern planet. And he's like, and then we're gonna see planets that have like weird ass fucking aliens and timelines and stuff like that, and just weird and insane space things. Like he knows that comic books are a wonderful medium where the only thing that's limited by it is your own imagination. And Tom King has a weird fucking imagination. Is really the best way of putting it. But he also knows that you can. He also knows just as well as anybody did making the Twilight Zone that you can make a lot of really great commentaries on things with this medium as well, which is another thing that I really appreciate about him, is that he is willing to go far and beyond some writers are comfortable with because of it, which is what becomes, which is why the meme happens where when you read a Tom King thing, how many war crimes are you okay with type of thing. And this book, after book 2, goes like, how many war crimes can we fit in a book? It's kind of what starts happening. And you're just like, whoa, but I'm a little disturbed by this. This is why when I was reading it, I remember reading that we were talking about how somebody was like, well, it's not going to follow the comic as much as you think it is. I'm like, I certainly hope not.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing right now, because holy shit.
Yeah, the comic gets into some really dark territory that I guess we can delve into. But, the Superman movie dealt with some pretty heavy, dark stuff and still managed to maintain an overall lighthearted tone. So they might still get pretty disturbing in the actual movie. But
it really depends on what it is they're going to lift out. I feel like some of this stuff they won't entirely take into it. Especially issue 3, I feel like a lot of issue 3 will be the one. It's one of those things that like you can do, but I feel like might be too much for depending on how long the movie is, type of thing. But let's get started on the actual whole thing. And
yeah, sure.
To each part.
And we
I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, and we can point out things that we think might be in the movie. Just based on the trailer, we've seen like some of the stuff, so we can point some of that stuff out. Yeah, that sounds fun. So the very beginning. Oh, I also want to mention just the artist, also the Brazilian woman.
Bilquis Evely is the. I'm just
yes.
I'm just gonna go with that because I'm not 100% certain if that's.
I'm not sure either. I've never read any other work from her other than Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. I don't think she's done a ton of comic work, but the art in this comic is also very, very good.
It's absolutely fucking incredible. Like you said, I think she's done a lot of stuff that would be considered like mainstream comics. She's done some Wonder Woman stuff apparently, but I think some of it's probably more covers maybe.
Or yeah, maybe some of like the recent Tom King Wonder Woman stuff.
There's some stuff I hear. She did a Doc Savage thing at one point apparently, but her art is absolutely fucking gorgeous. Her art makes like half of it really makes this comic more than what it already was.
Yeah,
like,
you see some.
If this was like a John Romita Jr., I don't think it wouldn't be nearly as impactful type of thing.
There's some like incredible otherworldly cosmic alien designs and just like a lot of like really trippy, beautiful colors.
Because that was one criticism I heard about the trailer, was that they were really hoping it would be as colorful and wonderful as what she's drawn here. And I understand that criticism. I'm not saying it's not possible later on in the film that it could match some of this stuff, but like I get it having read it now.
But yeah, the story opens, very unusually and maybe like kind of confusing to the reader, because it opens with these characters we've never heard of on a planet that we're unsure about. But it opens with a young girl describing the murder of her father, and you see her farmer father stabbed on an alien hill in the plains on some weird planet with a red sun in the sky. But yeah, just the story begins with Krim of the Yellow Hills has killed Ruthie's dad and ignited her quest for vengeance.
It's this wonderful shot of just like him dead, the sun going down, almost to show this is the moment he dies, type of thing.
Yeah, like his sundown.
And then like her discovering it, him there, and then just like it's like a journal. You start realizing you're reading a journal essentially of this girl talking. Like she even goes into like explaining the sword, how it looks kind of nice, even though like she's pulling it from her father's dead body. Like it's all past tense. It's none of it's like, oh my god, I found him and I was so like, oh my fucking god type of thing. It's like reading like a Civil War journal.
Yeah, no, it's totally like someone's like war diary or something. And that's a good point. You know, like comics are normally written in the present tense, and yeah, this is all past tense narration. And she admits in this in these passages that she's writing these tombs, you know, to tell her story. And there's a lot of character information revealed very quickly. Like when she says, like, you know, like the killer, he was a king's agent for the king, and he left his sword in my father, even though this is a very expensive sword. I don't know why he left it when, you know, it's so easy for me, a little kid, to pull it out of my dead dad. But so you learn, like, okay, they're like dirt poor. They're rock farmers. Like that sounds like they're dirt poor.
Yeah, the
But
fact
yeah,
they're like 10 to the rocks. I'm like, oh, they literally farm rocks. Okay. But it's not like mining rocks. They farm rocks. Like, do they? And then they leave so many questions. But it's an alien.
But
world,
yeah,
so
it's alien. It's the alien
excuse
stuff. It doesn't have to make sense to us.
But she says some very interesting things in the beginning. There's one thing she says that I found interesting is the fact that she claims in the beginning that Supergirl did a fatal blow. Like so you're expecting. So the book is kind of already telling you this might end with not in a Superman-y type of way, which I found really interesting, like right off the bat. Like Tom King just right off the bat goes, this is basically tells you right off the bat, this is not a Superman story. This isn't a story about like finding a person and being like, oh, we have to be better type of thing. So yeah, Supergirl might have killed a guy.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, but then like as Ruthie says, like, oh well, I'm getting ahead of myself. But I'll just say, like, there is more to that when you get the actual context later in the second half of the story that we'll talk about next time. But yeah, she's so dirt poor, in fact, that when she decides to, like, well, okay, no one in my family, my mom and my six brothers, my six older brothers, you know, none of them think there's anything we can do to avenge our dead dad, but I am going to go pay for a bounty hunter to track down this no good king's agent, this Krim of the Yellow Hills, and get revenge on him. But my only way to pay for someone to help me track him down is with the sword that I took from our dead dad. That's like the only thing of value they have.
Yeah, there's like a great moment where she's sitting around with what's left of her family, which is a lot. Don't get me wrong. It's not like he slaughtered her. It's not like a story. It's like The Punisher, where like her whole family was gunned down. Her dad is the only one who died. And her brothers are boasting the way, you know, men do, where they're like, well, you know, we're going to find him. We're going to kick his ass. And then it's alluded to that, you know, this is a world with a king in it. And it's possible that the reason the sword is so nice is because the guy was an agent of the king who goes around asking people what they think of the king. And if they don't like say the right answer, then he kills them. So in their minds, like, well, maybe he said something that like caused him to get killed, and we're better off just not fucking with him because we're so poor, and we don't want the king to like be pissed with us. And I love that Ruthie's like, no, I'm good. I'm fuck that shit. And I love that she like her mom just goes, yeah, she doesn't stop her. She just goes, yeah, take your dad's steed because I don't really want to take care of him. Which I found really interesting.
The steed is a cool animal too. That's one of those like those really cool, trippy, cosmic, science fiction-y designs that are like it's sci-fi fantasy. You know, I don't know. It looks like it could be in Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. It's a cool beastie. I like
It's
it.
a wonderful thing because it's not a horse, it's not a goat, but it's not really anything. Like it's like a fusion of so many different things, and I love its design. And even what her mom says sounds almost like she's talking about Ruthie still at the same time, where she goes, "He's an ornery one. I don't feel like caring for him. I got enough troubles." It almost feels like her way of giving her blessing to go take care of this stuff, but at the same time giving herself plausible deniability in case it goes south.
And there's Ruthie's dialogue. She cracks me up when she's talking to people, but also like her narration when she's describing things. She's extremely direct, but also very formal, and it's kind of like an odd politeness to everything she says.
Everything is incredibly formal, which is why it reads like a Civil War diary.
Yeah,
It's one
yeah.
of those like my dear beloved type ways of writing, but that's just how she talks. But it also shows how smart she is, and the fact that, and it also shows that she is super smart, but she still decided to go on a revenge quest, which in and of itself is interesting because of it. And this bounty hunter is such a dick, like right away.
Yeah, so she takes the steed to like as basically like the tavern is basically like the Mos Eisley Cantina. Speaking of Star Wars, like like a hive of scum and villainy to try to find a bounty hunter. And she's like, "Hey, dude, you look like you'd be a good tracker. I have like this sword. If you can help me find my father's killer, so I can kill him. I can pay you with the sword." And he's just kind of like, "Oh, cool, yeah. Thanks for the sword, kid." Um,
The funny thing is, he keeps claiming he's still gonna kill Krem when he takes the sword, which we both know he's probably lying, type of thing. And he most likely is based on the fact that he just slaps the ever living shit out of Ruthie. And what I love is the introduction of Supergirl here is very much like the way when you watch a movie like this, where like the stranger shows up and just sort of randomly saves the day in their own weird, messed up way, and that's what happens here. Is you're just watching a drunk girl who's just turned 21. It's like if you were at a bar and the 21-year-old just started whooping some guy's ass in your bar. I don't know how I would feel about that.
yeah, this small little young blonde woman and just like starts beating the shit out of this Conan the Barbarian looking guy. Although Supergirl is like she's in like the trench coat. You get glimpses of the Supergirl suit like under it, but it's in like the Millie Alcock trench coat that we saw in the trailers and in Superman last year. And she's like drunkenly explaining like, "Oh yeah, I'm on a planet with a red sun. I hurt too." As they're fighting, but she still seems to be able to get the best out of this guy. So
My favorite thing is Crypto in a blue bandana sitting there watching this, and he doesn't look angry at any point. He's just like, ah, shit, there she goes again.
yeah, he's like, "Oh, mom is playing, so this is funny. I'm gonna run around and bark and wag my tail. This is funny."
I also love that she's like, wait, hold on, I gotta save the alcohol before we get into a fight. Because I paid good money for this bullshit.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those drunken hero moments, like I don't know, Jackie Chan in The Legend of Drunken Master, or like Johnny Depp in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
It's really fun. It's a really fun moment, and it's like there's like the movie version kind of ramps up how advanced the planet is the one thing that I think the movie already has that's different. Is because in the movie it's like clearly like a planet full of ships and stuff, where this one is like this is the equivalent of like an old west town is almost what it feels like. There's not really, it doesn't really, like Ruthie has no idea what a ship is at this point.
Right. Yeah, so they're very it's a very primitive planet in the comic. They're like basically in like medieval days, have like kings and peasants and
Like even what Supergirl's wearing is almost like you can see that she has like almost like the same type of what are they called? Leather spanks, I think they're called. The thing on the where that's like around your boot.
yeah.
Type of thing. Like she's wearing the same thing, so she's like dressed like the locals, outside of the trench coat.
Yeah.
And like, so it's kind of like fascinating.
But in the trailers, you do see her drinking in a bar that, yeah, does look to be like a little bit more technologically advanced. But you also in the trailers, you do see Ruthie with the sword. So I don't know. I guess like her dad is still going to be killed by a sword in the movie. Uh, but we're definitely
It
going to
feels like
get the.
they've made her a little more. She doesn't seem much more advanced in it. She doesn't have like the crown or anything, but it feels like her outfit in the movie still has that sort of like old timey
Yeah.
fur look.
So it could be that she's on a planet that has like some technology in the movie, but like her family were just, primitive bumpkins out in the country farming their rocks. That would all make sense actually, but yeah, to thank Supergirl for saving her from this bounty hunter who tried to steal her sword and then slapped the shit out of her. To thank her, Ruthie takes the drunk lady from the bar home, and so Kara wakes up, and I guess it's like bleeped out like comic book style with other characters. But I guess like she keeps saying the F word, she keeps dropping F bombs. Like she wakes up and just screams "fuck," and Ruthie is like, "You say that word often. Is that the name of your husband?"
That did make me laugh pretty hard, and the fact that she kept assuming that her Supergirl outfit was her. Like basically like a long johns.
Yeah, like those are your undergarments, right? They're very colorful, but
yeah, because it turns out Kara was just wearing it under the outfit she had, like the whole time, which is normal for them.
That's normal superhero tradition. But she's being a terrible superhero right now. Like as far as secret identity goes, like she wakes up and realizes that she was sleeping in her Supergirl costume, and so she's just like, "Oh, you weren't supposed to see me in this." And Ruthie's just like, "I am not unaccustomed to the sight of a woman in her undergarments. That's not that weird, actually." So
I do like that she's like, "It's quite colorful, though," which is weird. Yeah. Other than that, it's normal type of thing. She's like, "It's not okay, fine," and she's just vomiting the whole time while this young girl's just like, "Will you help me murder somebody?" And she's like, "Oh, Jesus,
yeah.
What the fuck?"
But yeah, she's like, "You were such a badass taking down that bounty hunter. Surely you could help me track down this no good bastard, Crim of the Yellow Hills. This snake." The way that she describes him, like just like she calls him the snake. It's
such an old timey, almost Shakespearean way of explaining someone, which is what makes her so fascinating to me.
It's like, or it's also kind of similar, like in westerns and stuff. I guess, like if you're talking about someone who just like ain't no good, and you'd be like, like that no good, yellow bellied, low down, whatever piece of shit.
Exactly, and Supergirl's like, I don't have time for this bullshit. Don't kill anybody. I gotta go.
Yeah,
she's clearly hungover type of thing.
So that's the story. That's like the moral she's trying to give this young girl. Like, oh, me as a superhero, I'm supposed to tell you to do better, and I'm supposed to tell you not to kill anyone. And
my favorite is how she says it: "Goodbye, best of luck. Don't kill people. It's bad." And as she rows away, and Krypto's just like back at you, just barks to be like, "Yeah, that's what she said."
But she's incredibly hungover. She was just getting shit-faced in the bar, celebrating her 21st birthday alone on this backwater planet that she came to because of the red sun, because she wanted to get drunk and grieve. And the question that this comic will answer is like, well, why does she want to, get drunk on her birthday? And, you realize that, Supergirl herself carries a lot of trauma. Like when, is it before they get back to the ship? I guess it's like after she tracks her back to the ship.
It's alluded to once she gets to the ship. They have the conversation of like, this man killed my father. Like, I want for him to pay. And she's like, look, I get it. You lost everything.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you should go. She's like giving her the anti-Batman speech. Like, you don't have to be Batman. You can just fucking go about your day like I do type of thing. And but she doesn't know that Supergirl generally knows what she's going through and more, which is what, like, they allude to the fact that she's like, I didn't know at the time, but that is the trauma she carries with her at all times. And she mentions, she's like, I fucking left. I went to get drunk so I wouldn't have to think about this, like, on my birthday. And like, and for people to know who noticed, she's 21 in this instead of the 23 she's going to be in the movie. And for most people who don't remember, this means that she's been Supergirl for a while at this point, because most versions she gets to Earth around 15, 16.
Yeah, I guess so. Correct me if this is wrong, but in the current continuity, and I guess that would have been the same when this is written, although I think it's debatable if the story takes place in main DCU continuity or not, because a lot of the Tom King stuff is like Elseworld stories, but regardless, she still has the origin from Jeff Loeb from the Superman Batman comic when there was all that kryptonite that fell on Earth, and that was her spaceship coming to Earth, and that was her first arrival. The real Supergirl, who wasn't like an alien shapeshifter or something else. And she was like in that, like described, even though like Michael Turner was drawing like this like really sexy lady with like long legs and a nice figure, but they were describing her as like, oh yeah, she's like 16.
Yeah, she's super young. She's like, she shows up and she's very, like, she showed up in her teens and she was supposed to be there earlier than, or at the same time as Superman to take care of her. And then yeah, they're drawing her in the sexiest fucking thing they can, and you're just like, yeah, cause so she's like she mentioned she's been at this for a while, type of thing.
And she's even like she's trying to here's like a nice platitude. Like it's like my mom always said, Ruthie. It's like, life is about compassion, not fury. And then Ruthie freaks out and is like, yeah, okay, that sounds nice and dandy, but that only means something if you have like a stable life. If you're in my situation where I just like lost my dad, I lost my entire world. So those words mean nothing to me. But Kara hears that and she's like, you lost your world, I lost my world. Like, believe me, I know what you're feeling, but probably a whole lot worse.
Yeah, and but she doesn't know. She doesn't know that that's what's going on, and I can't blame her. She doesn't know everything that's going on with her, but it's hard to really tell what the full origin that they use. I'm assuming that there's a later time frame in the comic that might confirm what continuity, because again, we don't really know what continuity the story was supposed to be in. There was an implication that it was supposed to be part of the main continuity.
They do flash back to some Zor-El stuff, so people might recall, Zor-El, brother of Jor-El, is the guy who sends Supergirl to Earth.
The Supergirl continuity is very iffy to begin with.
Yeah, they do flash back to some of that stuff in an upcoming issue, but it's more of like the pre-ship launch stuff. We don't see the actual like ship landing on Earth. So
yeah, it's funny because the ending of this book, I won't say what happens at the end of it, but there's an outfit she wears at the end of the book that was used a few times after this came out.
Yeah,
which was like, doesn't make a lot of sense technically when you think about it. We'll talk about that if we ever get to the ending, but or whenever we get to the end, not if, because it makes it sound like we're not going to do it. Because they used it in what's the name of it? The crisis on the Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, if you remember what I'm talking about.
Okay.
There's a plot point where the Justice League is considered killed, and so so Jonathan Superman's like, I made a new Justice League. And Supergirl's there in the outfit she has at the end of this book. And you're just like, did they just... That doesn't make any sense in this, in this case.
That was someone was like, I like that design. Let's use that.
The funniest thing is that apparently the original concept art for that, it was supposed to be Mary Marvel, was supposed to be the one that was there. And then somebody went, fuck it. So now it's Supergirl in her outfit at the end of this book. Because I guess Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow did so well. They're like, yeah, it's that now. Fuck it. Even though it doesn't make any sense.
Oh, but maybe they had already started drawing the comic, and they're just like recolor Mary Marvel to make her look like Supergirl.
The whole thing was really funny, but we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. So Ruthie does end up doing kind of the equivalent of the True Grit moment, where she proves that she's like not going to stop. Yeah, which is that she swims all the way after Supergirl, who just took a rowboat like across a lake. I guess it's pretty far. It's not a short distance, as she says, and she has a sword on her back or her belt that's keeping her down. Yet she still makes it, and she sees a spaceship for the first time in her life, and she doesn't know what to think of it. I love that she's like, the only thing I can describe it as is as indescribable. She's a poor farmer who's never seen it. She can't even like allude to it as like a building or a bird or another like animal or house or something. She's just like, I don't know what the fuck to call this thing.
Yeah, Kara's having to explain it like, oh, it's kind of like a horse. It takes me to another place I'm going to travel to. And it's about to take off. I've already started the pre-launch sequence. This horse is really going to kick, so you need to get out of here.
I also love that this is the first time you see Crypto with his cape, and he looks adorable.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, well, it makes it more impactful that they draw him to look adorable because of what happens next.
Yeah, what happens next is that she's trying to get her to come with her, or let her come with her, so she can hunt down Krem of the Yellow Hills. And she alludes to the trauma. Like Supergirl gets distracted because of her trauma, and she gets fucking shot with an arrow straight in the fucking middle. By the way, like, goddamn, like, I'm surprised she survived any of that. And it turns out the bounty hunter has betrayed her, which is fair because they beat him up, but. And he has brought Krem to them.
Yeah, you wanted me to track you to him, but surprise, bitches! I tracked him to you.
And he's just this red-headed fucking dude with a beard, and who just has a sword and some bow and a bow and arrow. He's honestly not that terrifying if it wasn't for the fact that they're on a red sun type of thing. Like if Batman was there, he would have just beat this dude's ass.
Oh yeah,
in like 5 seconds, type of thing. But this is a story about a superwoman who's hungover, who's didn't want any of this shit, and then comes the moment that I remember putting this fucking book down, which is that this motherfucker shoots Crypto, the super dog, with a fucking arrow. I was so pissed. I was pissed again reading it. I was like, motherfucker, you did not just kill Crypto. And again, Future State had happened at the same time, making me think this motherfucker was going to die during this. But I love that Supergirl just like gets up, is so pissed off, and just beats the ever-living shit out of the bounty hunter immediately.
Yeah.
She grabs the sword with her bare hand. Like, she feels that this isn't some
it's like cutting her hand as she's holding it.
Yeah, it's not like she did that and she was like, it does nothing to me. She is bleeding profusely
with an arrow sticking out of her chest after she's been shot by an arrow. So
she has 3 arrows sticking out of her chest by this point because he fires at her 2 more times as she walks up to him.
Yeah, and she's so pissed. She's like baffled by like swords and arrows. I'm Supergirl. Do you think I give a fuck about swords and arrows?
I also love the fact that it alludes to the idea that Krem also doesn't know what a ship is, but he's so terrified of Supergirl, he runs into it to hide, because in his head it's like a hut or something, and it's just lucky for him that it ends up like causing him to fly away. Although I love that Ruthie tries to attack him, he just fucking kicks her to the side. He's like, out of my way.
Yeah.
And it just runs inside, and she's like, well, I had little effect at trying to stop him, and he disappeared, and I lost my chance of getting the guy.
So I do agree with you that, yeah, I think in the movie they're gonna make her planet like a little bit more technologically advanced because it'll also be easier to explain. Okay, Krem goes into Kara's spaceship, and then next time we see him, he's adapted very quickly to being part of the intergalactic interstellar community.
Like, it's clear the movie has to tell a shorter story because the story is so personal. And what I like, the second issue, we're going to go into the second issue, which is that they take the equivalent of like a Greyhound bus to get to a planet with a yellow sun. They're just taking one long Greyhound trip.
Yeah.
And then taking another one when they get to a place where that's the end of the line type of thing. And the fact that like what I like about it is that this is Ruthie is dealing with things she's never dealt with before. She's like, I am someone who didn't really bathe all that much to begin with. I'm a farmer. Bad smells are like my friend. I'm telling you all of that because I've never smelled anything quite like what the fuck space is.
It is very descriptive, and the art makes the spaceship, the space bus, look pretty grungy and miserable. And it's so crowded, and there's like this like big ass alien, gross looking guy sitting in between Ruthie and Kara on the bus. And
I also love like what the artist did with everybody in the background. There's a guy like basically playing the trumpet for some fucking reason in the back, and a bird and a couple birds in a cage, and it's like a double decker bus. Like if anyone who's ever been on a Greyhound knows the exact thing that's going on. I've been on a Greyhound with my dad. Had basically the same feeling that she has here, or I'm like, what the fuck is happening? It's also way more uncomfortable than it sounds, and so you get where they're both coming from. And I also love the fact that it keeps mentioning that they can't get a seat together because they keep doing these things last minute while they rest. And I love her little monologue to this guy who's just like who threatens to eat her basically, and just goes, if you fuck with me, she will fuck with you. And he's like, I don't have time for this, so he just goes to sleep. Which is like honestly like one of the nicer things that happens to her. And it is just the bus. Even when it zooms out, it's a space bus.
And we see this in the trailer. We see Kara waiting at a like a bus stop bench. So we're definitely gonna get this it's almost kind of a road trip comedy kind of adventure.
Yeah, and it's great because there's a moment where they stop at a diner to eat basically. It's actually kind of like a truck stop actually.
Yeah.
And they sit down to eat, and this is another thing I like about this book and Tom King in general, because Tom King's one of the few people who still does this, which is he makes up space shit, where he's like, the Ann Murph's asteroid 15 Zermatt stop, and they're like, I love how later on she's like, how many Zermatts was that been? She's like, I don't know what the fuck a Zermatt is either, type of thing. And I love that she sits down, and I love that this is one of my favorite parts of the entire book so far, which is that there's a man there who goes, you're Supergirl, right? And she's like, yeah, like maybe. And she's just like, well, Superman, his brothers must have been fucking crazy for Superman to throw them into the Phantom Zone. And he threatens to kill her. And she's like, oh no, whatever shall I do? And then just beats the shit out of her. Because it's very much like the fact that like everybody has a bone to pick with Superman, that they assume that Supergirl is just because her name's Supergirl, not like Superwoman.
Mm-hmm.
And so they assume she's just this little dandy thing.
Yeah, they think that she is his weak spot, basically. Like, oh, Supergirl must be Superman's soft underbelly. As Ruthie described it. And she says, like, this would happen all the fucking time. Like, every space truck stop we would go to, some asshole would do this. And she even says, like, I'm just going to describe this one incident of this, because if I described all of them, then this entire story would be nothing but me repeating the same scenario over and over again. Just believe me, it happened a lot.
That's my other favorite part. It's like, every fucking place, another guy was like, I will have my revenge, and pop.
I guess
just an unending truck stop of just beating up people, and I think that's kind of amazing.
Like, I don't want to speak for another community, so I'd be curious to hear a woman's thoughts on this. But I think a lot of women, often get frustrated with like, why do I have to be associated with this more famous man? What do people always think of me as Superman's cousin? Like, I'm my own individual. Like, don't think I'm just going to be like a weaker, softer version of Superman.
My favorite thing is there's Ruthie mentions this a lot throughout the book, is that she's like, from everything I've heard of her reputation, she's supposed to be this kind, compassionate, patient person. And in my dealings with her, she's none of those things. She is a crazy person who will, at the drop of the hat, fucking annihilate a human being.
Yeah, she does not put up with bullshit. Like if she's not gonna give you the time of day if you're getting on her bad side, she's gonna deal with you quickly.
It's why I guarantee this is the reason why this James Gunn and everybody's like, this is the version of Supergirl we should use, because we want her to be so, because this is one of my issues with CW Supergirl. CW Supergirl is just Superman with like, it's like Miss Pac-Man, you know what I mean? Like it's the same fucking character. Like
just put a bow on it and say Miss Pac-Man. Yeah,
exactly. That's what they did, and that's kind of how she was even for a while, and some other versions up until a certain point. And a lot of them, even when they were different, they were still very similar in their thought processes, and like, you know, compassion being the doing the right thing type of thing. Whereas this Supergirl, Superman is the soft belly in this where Supergirl is she's the fucking like spikes of a fucking what do they call it? A porcupine. She's like the porcupine part of it, and they just don't know they don't know that. Like, she is a fucking psychopath, or not a psychopath, but you know what I mean. Like, she is not going to take your shit the way Superman is the thing that Ruthie's been hearing about, the kind, compassionate, patient with everyone guy, which is one of the reasons why I'm like, this guy's brothers must have been crazy about throwing in the Phantom Zone. He doesn't throw everyone in the Phantom Zone. That's just not a thing. And so it's like really funny to me that he's like, he threw my brothers in the Phantom Zone. I'm like, okay, first of all, what the fuck did your brothers do? And second of all, like, what did they do, man? Like, he doesn't just throw everybody in there. But it's just fascinating to me that, like, she is so much different, and we get like a small glimpse of that in both the ending of Superman, although they make her more of a drunkard than she actually is, because that's the thing that a lot of people brought up in this book was like, well, she gets drunk in the beginning. I'm like, yeah, she's only drunk in the beginning, where the movie seems to make it seem more like more like an alcoholic who's just running from her problems type of thing. So I think that's one of the things they embellished right away.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the way it played out is like the movie can show you the surface level read of that is like, well, like, this girl likes to you know, get drunk and party, but you know, then when we have like a full movie dedicated to her, they can kind of explore like, well, why does she choose to spend her birthdays like that?
And it makes sense. Like, reading this book, it makes sense. That's probably what they're going to do. And I like that the movie also alludes to the fact that she is, they have her be like this without having, they still have to say it a little more because it's the trailer version where she's just like, well, what's Superman like? It's like, well, he sees the good in everyone, or I like the line where she says, I see the truth. That's kind of almost the tagline of this book. Almost like, she sees the good in everyone and I see the truth is closer to like how she really is in this book, especially when you get to 3 and 4, because in the beginning it's just this weird truck stop adventure that has one of my favorite like MacGuffins I've seen in something in a while, which is that on one of the last legs of the trip, there's it's a Carpane dragon. This is a giant fucking space dragon that just eats metal that's like all up in the galaxies. And Supergirl's like, well, I'm not super right now, but I got an idea. And she walks into this fucking bus and she asks for reds, which I didn't understand what was happening at first. She's like, who's got some reds? I thought she was asking for like explosives or something, because she's like, this is it's a cheaper thing, it's the slowest thing. You guys clearly don't have a lot of money, and if you do, you clearly are like the lower end of people that would like you don't want to be like searched as much type of thing. And it turns out in the galaxy, this is one of the wildest things I've ever seen. In the galaxy, they are selling red kryptonite pills to get high with. It's like space LSD.
Yeah, it's like a hallucinogenic.
And so it's like, so for people who take it, their brains go through these like things where they, their perception of like who they are and stuff changes for like a little bit. But for people who know what red kryptonite does, that does that for real to a Kryptonian. For a good example is ant-headed Superman is a good example of that, as well as a few other weird things that have happened to him over the years.
The rules of red kryptonite, I think, are kind of confusing because, like Smallville and other media will sometimes change. Like Smallville is like red kryptonite makes him an asshole, basically. But traditionally in the comics, red kryptonite would just have like some like weird random reaction. Like one time Superman's head turned into like a big ant head, or
it's like a DNA thing. Like if it fucks with, it makes their DNA cause them to change
like randomly.
Random. Yeah, it's all at random. But for some reason, it turned Kara into the Phoenix.
Yeah, she basically becomes like Jean Grey with the Phoenix Force to go fight a space dragon. So she got like I remember like one time in like the Mark Waid Justice League story, Tower of Babel, they had red kryptonite like turned Superman's skin transparent.
Yeah.
And he
was like freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, so like you could get like some weird ass random reaction with this, but luckily it was something. But I mean, she had to resort to this because she hadn't gotten all of her power level back from spending time around the red sun, and also I kind of do like that idea of like, oh, red kryptonite could work as a drug because the weird transformation thing that it causes with Kryptonians, that would just be in your head. If anyone else takes it, it would just be like a crazy trip. So I kind of like that idea.
No, I liked it a lot. It also felt like the way she does it is also kind of a reference to the Angel Supergirl years, if you know what I'm talking about. There was it was during the time where Kara wasn't the Supergirl. I think it was the Linda Danvers years, where it was the woman who gained Superman powers through the Matrix or whatever. The Matrix Supergirl, like she fused or whatever with him. But then she became like an angel or something.
Yeah, I think that was Peter David who wrote that. But yeah,
I think so. But it's this weird like kind of angel type thing. I think it was also kind of referencing almost that because she's like a fiery angel. Because the way it is like she has like wings, kind of. But they're almost like angel-like, but also Phoenix-like at the same time.
That is a good point. I didn't think about that because it just didn't occur to me. But there are a few things in this story that kind of reference Supergirl's history.
Yeah, because I think it's got that sort of halo-y type thing around her head when she first, like when she's doing basically the Phoenix pose. But it's a really cool sequence. Like, in fact, and again, this is also shows how much it's not a Superman story. Because she fucking like headshots the dragon.
But I hope that we see this in the movie. Like, I want to see this on the big screen. I want to see Supergirl light up like a fiery phoenix and fight a big blue space dragon in space, and fly through its head to scatter its brains across the cosmos at the speed of light.
And then right after that, there's this really great scene of Supergirl teaching Ruthie how to wash her hands. Because it turns out, since she's such an old school farmer, and she was, as she mentioned before in the beginning, I only bathed once a year, and it was dirty water, so it wasn't really all that much of a bath.
Yeah, she would bathe after everyone else in her family because she was the youngest. And she was like, like the water is already brown when I got in for my yearly bath. So yeah, this girl does not wash. Periods. Supergirl's like, you've never washed your hands. It's like, I've never washed anything ever.
She's like, we've been eating at so many alien truck stops.
Yeah.
You're gonna get all the worms.
These are not nice truck stops. Like, if you're from Texas like us, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like, they're not stopping at Buc-ee's. They're stopping at Love's.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that she explains, like, well, in different places, you should make sure it's soap, because one time I was in a planet and it was acid. But since, I'm Supergirl, it didn't do anything to me. But you're not, so you got to be careful with it. Type of thing. It was this really sweet thing, and then it ends with her bringing up her trauma again, where she's like, I like what she said. Did you ever seek to avenge your family? And she mentions that Supergirl says something. She says, no, I didn't. And I like that she's like, I can't really explain what it sounded like other than regret. And it says so much about Supergirl, but it also says a lot about the fact that Supergirl, there was nothing she could have done about it. There's nothing she could have avenged necessarily. Like,
yeah.
she couldn't beat up like a planet exploding, that type of thing.
But they in the remaining issues that you haven't read yet, they do spend a little bit more time talking about her past and the events that kind of happen with Argo City, and
yeah, I guess that's true. And I don't know if the Brainiac continuity was the thing at this point.
Well, they don't say anything about Brainiac in the story. However, I think in the movie they'll have like a good opportunity to tie into Brainiac, since we're expecting to see him next year in Man of Tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
But yeah, I'll be curious when this movie comes out if there is any Brainiac breadcrumbs in that.
Yeah, I'm curious myself as well. But yeah, I think it's just fascinating that she's just like, yeah, Supergirl has a lot of her trauma, but again, you never see, like, you're seeing Supergirl's trauma through the eyes of Ruthie, because she's like, in her response, I heard a whole life of regret is what she says, and it ends with this sort of like another moment, kind of similar in the beginning, where the guy threatens to beat her up, but this time Supergirl basically breaks this guy's nose.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, little girl, I'm getting tired of hearing you complain, because like he keeps like, I guess, falling asleep on top of her, just like leaning over against her. She's like, I paid for a ticket, like I'm entitled to my own space, and you need to stop encroaching on my space, and I've made my complaint known to you several times. I won't stand for this anymore. She's always so formal. And then he's like, what the hell? I'm not going to listen to you, you dumb little kid. And then popped in the face by... Kara just keeps sleeping. Like, I picture her just, like, snoring, sitting there in her chair. So this will be, I think, something that we'll see in the movie. It'll be like it's just like the aliens will look a little less alien. It's funny, they're going to make Krim of the Yellow Hills look more alien, because in this he just looks like a human dude with a red beard. We know from the trailers he looks more alien, but some of these creatures they're gonna look more human, just make it a little cheaper to realize.
That is the downside for when it comes to movie stuff, and especially if it's not James Gunn making it, because James Gunn, I feel like if James Gunn had been the one who made it, he would have gone all in on some of the creature designs, but
like the bus driver, there's like the bus driver on the spaceship in the trailer, like he looks more like a normal human than like the creature he looks like in this.
Yeah, exactly. And then the ending of this specific issue it's kind of reiterating everything. It's like Supergirl, it was her birthday. She went as far as she could, flight wise, with her, like, because they can fly in space. And then she got a ship, went to go celebrate at my home. And now her dog is dying. She went through a lot to keep me alive, as well as herself. And she's accepted my offer to track down the man who murdered my dad. And it ends with Supergirl gaining her power back. And the way she's like hovers and says, I see everything. It was just such like... It's a very hopeful ending to an issue.
Yeah,
even though like the setup sounds very dark.
She's not nerfed anymore going forward. The first two issues, she doesn't have her full powers, and now she will going forward. So, the stakes and the battles and what have you can get a little bit higher stakes. I just want to point out though that like when they were kind of recapping the events with the dog, there's like one panel where it's explaining that so Krim fled our planet, and want to find him to get revenge for killing my dad, and Supergirl wants to find him because the Menders trying to heal the dog said that he was poisoned with a particular poison that is going to be mixed differently for every hunter who makes this poison. So they have to track down Krim to find out how the poison was made. Is the only way to cure the dog. But the way that it was like written in the particular caption, it says, as Krim of the Yellow Hills was nowhere to be found, the animal was lost. So the first time I read that, I thought like, oh, so they're confirming an issue, like Crypto's dead already. Like I read issue 1 and I was like, okay, the dog got shot with an arrow, but there's no way they're going to kill the dog, right? And then I read issue 2 and I got to that and I was like, what? He's dead? So it turns out he's not, like we said, like, spoiler, Crypto does not die in this story, but...
Yeah, the book basically alludes to the idea that he's either dead or is dying, like, by this poison. Because my assumption is, like, the book kind of makes you think he's definitely dead because this journey's been going on for a while. This isn't like, it hasn't been a couple days. According to the way Ruthie explains it, it's been like a week at minimum. Like how long
they've stopped at multiple truck stops at this point. So,
like for all we know, it's been a month, especially based on the timeline that the next few issues or the next couple issues give us. The next issue I like to call, the Twilight Zone meets war crimes.
Now let's talk about issue 3.
This one's fascinating. They went to a planet called Quran. That's apparently the place where she bought her ship originally, and she meets these aliens who are just like, they're all just kind of assholes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're in a little town called Maypole, which I figured is kind of meant to resemble like Mayberry in the Andy Griffith Show, but it's kind of like that, like a old school Americana, Norman Rockwell-esque kind of 20th century idealistic little American town, but it's aliens on another planet. But that's kind of like the vibe, except there's that's kind of like the surface level look, and then when you start like poking at things, like asking people questions and getting to know them, you're like, oh, there's something like really fucked up about this place.
Yeah, everything is it has an old timey diner. It's got a mayor. It's got guys with like normal guns. Everything, like you said, it's all idealistic. Like even when Ruthie starts explaining, we stopped at a hotel, we looked on everybody, and everybody just looked like they're having a normal life. Like
all these blue aliens, I guess.
Yeah, there's nothing out of the ordinary. These blue guys are just running around doing life as they do. But what happens is the first big hint, other than Ruthie saying, before we discover the horror, as she says, if this played out the way a normal comic would, which didn't have Ruthie's Civil War journal stuff, you would only think things were weird, and it's not. And I don't even mean because of the cop acting weird originally, because the cop is a dick, but he's not like. But it seems more like he's hiding something involving the criminal himself.
Yeah, he didn't want to help investigate anything though, which doesn't seem that suspicious. Like, yeah, most of the time, like cops don't want to be helpful in general.
Yeah, it's at best a corrupt cop story type of thing. Yeah, like it's like talking to somebody from Gotham, basically.
You also should like read this issue with like giving all of these aliens like a southern accent in your voice when you read it, and it works pretty well.
It works really well. It's like especially the mayor, who if you give him a foghorn leghorn type way of talking, kind of works too. And then there's also these the thing that made me realize I didn't notice this the first time is that there's 2 water fountains.
I was about to bring that up. I just noticed it for the first time now, looking at that page.
Yeah, it says blue and purple, and it's a blink and you can miss it type situation because it's not like bright, it's not like boldly written purple or blue until you get to the lady at the hotel that says like, am I blue or purple? And you're like, what the and you're reading that, you're like, well, what the fuck does that mean? She's like, well, all off-worlders are blue. Like my mom always said, to be purple, you got to be purple, and you're like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah,
Like, I don't
yeah.
understand.
But Kara's like, yeah, when she tries to sign in at the hotel, she's like, oh, it's like asking me, am I blue or purple? You know, the lady's like, oh, you know, only the purples are purple. You're you're an off-worlder, so you're blue. But yeah, it's like, you know,
This
how
doesn't make any sense, to be honest. Like, if you're all blue, why would I also be blue?
well, it's like in segregation when people would, you know, be like, yeah, you have like the white water fountain and the black water fountain, and then you'd also have like some people who are like, I'm unsure which one of those categories you expect me to fall under. Like,
Well, that's the thing. It's like it's not subtle about what it's doing, but the thing is that like their explanation to Kara doesn't make any sense from the get go. And I like that Kara's just like, but why hasn't there been any purples in a long time? And she's like, well, you better fucking sign that shit, or
yeah, you better stop asking them questions, young lady. Like, it feels like if you went to the town where Emmett Till was killed in, like you started like asking questions about like, you know, what happened over here, like like, you know, or like some town that like lynched someone or something. But it definitely it feels like a pretty accurate, honest like depiction of
yeah, it's a very
the American South.
it's a very racist town, but the thing is that the shoe gets dropped after they observe everybody, and she goes, I see everyone. It's like, well, are any of them creme? She's like, no, but they're all blue. And when you say that, my heart dropped the second she said no, but they're all blue. Like,
Yeah.
and they were like, well, why would there be a purple thing? And they go to the diner, and she starts going, why were there signs that said purple's not allowed, type of thing? And like, and nobody wants to answer. Like, they all get hostile to her immediately. And she's just like, I just want to, like, we're all like, just tell me what happened to Creme. Be like, honestly, this is the funniest thing about this book, or outside of, is the fact that like all these people had to do was tell them what happened to Creme. Like, all they had to do was be like, look, Creme was here, some alien showed up, attacked, and he left with them. That's all they had to say. They didn't even have to explain why he did what he did. But the fact that they kept it all secret is what really is the reason she even looks into this. They just, like, there's so many easy ways around this that they just don't do. But I'm glad they didn't, don't get me wrong. But, like, it's just, they're all dumb. The entire town is dumb.
That's Tom King's, like, you know, real world cynicism. Like, you know, like Tom King, who worked in the CIA for years, and he's like, I've seen some shit. I know some terrible things that have happened. And I think he probably has like a lot of guilt and trauma about all of that, and that's why he takes it out on these comic book characters he writes. But sometimes we actually do get like pretty impressive stories out of it.
Yeah, and there's this like, I think this is the first time we ever see Ruthie with her helmet too, by the way, where they get like an attempted assassination on them.
Yeah, like someone tries to shoot up their hotel room.
It's this really like amazing moment because Ruthie's like, I thought I was ready for this, and I was not ready for this.
But it made me think of, you know, a lot of gun violence that happened in the civil rights movement, and you know, I mean, like, there's still a lot of you know, hate crimes carried out with firearms. But
again, guys, if there's a great show called Garth Marenghi's Dark Places, I think is the name of it, where it's got that one writer. People have seen this gif a lot, but it's a writer going, I know people who write subtly and they're all cowards. Who write in subtext and they're all cowards. This book is all text.
Yes,
there's no sub.
There's no sub at all.
It's all text. I know writers who write in subtext and they're all cowards. Is what Tom King is fucking motto is. And so this entire comic is just so dark, and then the reveal, because like the old timey mayor is like, fuck you guys, and she's like, well, fuck you guys, and she finally just decides to take matters in her own hands. And I like that it reveals why Supergirl hasn't been flying since they've gotten here, even though she has superpowers now. She was worried that Ruthie wouldn't know what to do, and so she's like, well, I'm done with this shit. We're just gonna have to do it. And the reveal is just, I was expecting some dark shit, but I did not expect them to go as far as they did.
The moment where my heart sinks is when you see the sign that says Purple Town, and then you're like, oh,
yeah,
it was all like segregation, but
and then you see all the and it's clear that they've been there for a while because they're all skeletons at this point. Like,
yeah,
that's kind of what shows how long it's been, because it can't have been like a week or two. Like, they have to have been searching for this guy for months.
yeah.
For them to be all skeletal at this point. And then her just like, she finally confronts the sheriff. And I love this little sequence of her getting shot in the eye, and she just bats it away.
Yeah, no, that's great. Just like to live in an era where like yeah, like where you do have to worry about oh, the cops are shooting people, and then like the idea of like it would be really nice to be able to be bulletproof and stand up to them like this. It's a very satisfying moment.
Then comes the exposition, which is that there's a group called the Barbon. I'm going to go Barbons. Barbons Brigands.
Yeah, I just call them the brigands, but yeah, Barbons, brigands, but yeah, just the brigands is how they're normally referred to, and we see brigands in the trailer. They're in the trailer for the movie.
Yes, and they're just how do I put this?
They're some sons of bitches.
They love just murdering. So
yeah,
it's just they're that Rick and Morty gag. Oh, here I go killing again. That's their entire thing.
They're like marauder pirates, I guess. They're just they like to show up and do mass violence.
Like there's only two ways to appease them normally, which is that you either give them an exorbitant amount of money and they'll leave you be, or you just let them murder you all. Like there's literally those are the two options apparently. Until Krem finds out that these guys are here, and he's like, well, if they go on a murder rampage, I'm here too. They'll murder rampage me. So he's like, I have an idea. Why don't we pay them and let them murder? And I'll join them. That sounds pretty fun. And he does. And it's like, that's the reason they don't tell him what happened to Krem, because they would have to admit they have to admit that they let a genocide of the purple people happen to keep their blue upscale society, because that's the thing, as you mentioned, this is the blues are the upscale, like we are the whites, again, not subtext. we are the fancy people, and the purples were all the poor purple people, and they didn't give a shit about them. So it was like a win-win for them. It's like, we don't like them anyways. Like,
yeah, the blues couldn't afford the big enough bribe to make the brigands spare the entire planet. So they're like, okay, we'll just pay you half the bribe and ask that you only kill all the purples that we don't really like anyways. So yeah, so they sold out the purples.
They sold out the purples. And again, the comic likes bringing in children into its panels to make you feel extra bad about it, which is, I was like, oh shit, this because I was like, this comic's pretty fun so far. I haven't felt the depression of Tom King yet. And Tom was like, fucking bursts in with a fucking hammer through my door going, war crimes, and just starts throwing them at me.
because that is Tom King dealing with his guilt for probably like getting like kids bombed and shit when he worked in the CIA for the United States. So.
And I love this
because he feels bad about it. He's gonna make all of us feel bad about it.
I kind of love the fact that the brigand is drawn like he looks like a space old timey pirate.
Yeah,
he's got almost like a peg leg. His hat is almost the way an old timey pirate's hat would be. And then next to him, you see essentially the equivalent of that MMA fighter next to him. What's that guy's name? That Irish guy who was in the new Roadhouse. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's like the equivalent of like an old timey space pirate and that guy hanging out murdering, and it's almost laughable in the fact that it looks ridiculous. And it's the only reason you can kind of get past the fact that you're like, I am witnessing a war crime right in my face, and so you just sort of have to go with it. And
Are you talking about Conor McGregor?
Conor McGregor.
Yeah, that's who Crim of the Yellow Hills actually looks like.
He looks like Conor. It's an old timey space pirate and Conor McGregor going on a murder rampage, and you're just like, what the fuck?
But yeah, they're like, Crim of the Yellow Hills. You'll fit right in with us. You like to unleash pointless violence upon the masses, then you should join the brigands.
They just take him with them. Like they're like, hey, you like murder? Like hang out with us. It's like, what the fuck? And then it's just this very heartbreaking thing where she's just like, that Ruthie's like, I don't understand. Like they all seem like just normal, kindly people. Like, sure, they were a little dickish to us, but they're here. They have families, and all these people dead, and it's too much. Like it reminds me of that. It's almost like that line from She says a line that's almost like Man of Steel, which is that like the world's too big, type of thing. Mm-hmm. And she's saying that it's too big and we're too small. Like this situation has now gotten out of control for her.
Yeah, this line actually comes back in later on in a future issue that we'll talk about next time. But yeah, the questioning, like how can you make like a difference in the world or the universe? The line, it's too big, we're too small.
I like this line too. For that day I learned the truth of all things. Just as every man has two faces, so does every place. Because this is her. She's not only losing her naivety when it comes to like the world, it's just like the universe is almost as what she's. She's like, the world is not what I thought it was. My journey is not even what I thought it was. Her journey starts so simple. Her journey is the equivalent of going to HEB for something, and except the difference, and then it turns into like. You know, it's like an episode of Regular Show. Actually, this is a better way of explaining. It's an episode of Regular Show. An episode of Regular Show. Benson's like, I just need you to mow the grass. And at the end of the episode, they're fighting an elder god for some reason. Like that's what she finds herself in. She's like, I just wanted to murder a guy. I didn't expect to run into war crimes.
It was very black and white. It was like, okay, bad guy did a bad thing. It would be good to go get revenge on him. Like, bad guy killed my dad. That was wrong. And then you get like more complicated and more nuanced and
like, she had a black and white journey and she was just going to go home. She didn't know what a ship was no more than like a month or two ago based on how long ago this was. And now she's smack dab in the middle of just the most fucked up thing she could find.
Yeah, and I guess that's a big theme of issue 3 of this miniseries is her kind of maturing and realizing and becoming less naive. Like when they open up the gunfire in the hotel room and there's like that hail of bullets raining in that Kara is protecting her from, but she's just talking about how like my mom didn't want to scream in the face of death. When I had siblings born before me that were stillborn or they didn't make it as infants, and my mom wouldn't cry in front. Like, you also like get like a lot of like language describing her religion. She talks about like these like gods that she worships. And so she talks about like gentleman death as like their death god. And, like it would be rude to cry or shout out in front of gentleman death. But like I couldn't help myself that time. And
and issue 4 is just the war crime. On war crime. It's war crime the issue is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, so we've now established the war crime space pirates that, after they genocide the purples, they go on to other planets to do more atrocities that we see in issue 4.
She like at this point it's the only other thing I could compare it to comic book wise that I've read right away is the Gore storyline of Thor, the Gore the God Butcher.
The God Butcher, Jason
where it's
Aaron.
like where Thor is like finding the remnants of what he had done. It's like because he's on the chase for Gore. It's like that, except it's all like except the difference is that it's not like a God Butcher they're chasing. It's a group of crazy space pirates that are genociding planets as they go on, or at least as much as they can, because a lot of the planets they go to, there are still living people there, but the majority of them are like wiped out entirely, type of thing. And she's seeing the aftermath. She's hearing the aftermath from people.
Yeah, they find
seeing the aftermath from people. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
Like when they find like that little baby just like alone in the like the field of dead bodies. There's just like this like one little kid. It'd be like, you know, usually like war footage or something, like Tokyo just got bombed and there's this like one like little baby crying in the rubble or something.
And yeah, and you get the name of a lot of different planets, but it's crazy just how many of them not. Like there's Parnet's the first one they go to, and then after that they're in a place called Escalm. And this guy tells his story about running into Krem, and it shows just how insane Krem is, like truly, because at first you're talking about like, you know, this guy killed my friend. The guy clearly has his own trauma because he's repeating himself over and over again. He keeps talking about his friend. He's like, we were like brothers, is basically what he keeps saying.
Yeah, I think they were. I think they were more than brothers. I think they had like some romantic connection.
They were roommates. I'm sorry.
Yeah. They were roommates.
He keeps saying houndmates, which accidentally kind of makes that joke. Joke work. But he keeps saying it over and over again. He's like, he was the fastest. He always could get away from anything, and then he got caught up to, and they stabbed him. And he's like, he was always so soft spoken, and all I heard was his screams, and then I realized I stopped hearing screams, but I thought they were his, but they were my own screams. Yeah. It's just this really fucked up trauma thing.
That right there, that is something that happened in real life that Tom King knew about and wrote into this story.
That's what it feels like, yeah. and I bet you Tom King was Krem. I'm just kidding. No, that's an accusation. No,
maybe it was.
That's the fucked up part. Christopher Lee. I always think about Christopher Lee when they talked about when he dies in Lord of the Rings. Have you ever heard that story?
Yeah. About a man being stabbed in the neck.
Yeah, or in the back or something. He's like, when you're going to get stabbed in the back and you're like, oh my God, I'm dying. He's like, no, that's not what I'm going to do. He's like, why? He's like, because I've seen what happens to a man who gets stabbed in the back and dies. He's like, oh, Jesus. Peter Jackson just slowly stepping away. I don't want to fuck with this guy. But yeah, so, and then you see the aftermath of this guy. This guy's like missing all of his limbs. Like, Krem just fucking went to town on this guy. It's just fucking crazy.
It was stabbed in the lung, according to Joel in the live audience. Thanks, Joel.
Thank you. And it was just so, it's just so dark. Like the guy just keeps, and then it cuts to another planet. It's supposed to be like a resort planet, and just dead people everywhere again. And this one guy who's just burying them.
Yeah, just like one grave digger burying his whole population.
And he's told, like, if you don't do this by sunrise, we're just gonna throw them all into like one giant pit. And one of them's his daughter, and he's like, well, I don't know where she is, so I have to go through all of these people before I find her.
It is so morbid. Yeah, he's saying, like, my daughter was cut up, and you're like, I'm not going to be able to find, like, which one of these bodies is hers. At least if I bury each one in their own grave, I'll know that she'll have her own grave and not be in, like, a big mass grave.
I think the dialogue she has here is probably her most Superman-like, which is that she's like, let me help you as your neighbor type of thing. Like a kindly thing as a neighbor, and she does the whole thing. It's a very sweet, bittersweet moment, I guess.
But it's like a faster than a speeding bullet. She uses the super speed.
Yeah, it's very nice, and I like how he doesn't know what to say. He's like, thank you, but he's happy about it. Like, considering he's happy that he's gotten something out of it, but it's still. But you realize just how many graves she had to, like, once she's done, you realize how many she just dug and put in. Because there's just so many behind her when she's done. It's really fucked up. This whole issue is really fucked up.
And then, like, she gives them, like, such, like, I don't know if you'd even call it a gift, but she gives them, like, something that really eases his pain when she says, okay, like, I did the best job I could. If you want to go, like, inspect the graves, make sure they all look right, let's do that. But also, I was able to find your daughter. I found the remains that matched your DNA, and I can take you to her grave and show you where she's buried if you'd like.
Yeah, the whole thing is just, it's bittersweet in the fact that she gave him something. And then she does the same on another planet. What is the name of this one? She mentions it further down.
The one with the giant.
It's got a lot of R's. Lana. I'm not even gonna try it because it's just got so many fucking R's. Urlan, I guess is all I'm gonna say because it's got like fucking 3 R's.
Yeah, the planet with the Kirby crackle and the green skies.
The craziest part is that they have a reputation of having these like brutal soldiers, but I think the idea is that the soldiers were just off world, possibly, because it shows that like this giant soldier showed back up, and just everything was ash.
Yeah, this giant woman who's like crushed that she wasn't there to defend her people, and she can't like mourn, like she can't like let it out. So Kara is like telling her just like hit me, and the giant is like no, like I'm large, you're small, I can't hurt you. And I think to like get her to snap out of it, Kara's like, you're not large. If you were large, you would have stopped them. All you are is fucking small.
Yeah, her gift to this woman is to get her emotions out because she's so she can't mourn for some reason.
She can't let it out until like she like punches little Kara, just like punches the shit out of the ground, and then like the the waterworks start, and she can like let it out and start crying and grieving.
I love the drawing of Kara though. Right after she first does it, because she's just like her legs in the air and she's like this, like I didn't feel nothing. And you're like, Jesus Christ, Kara. And it's like this really sweet thing, and then they go to this planet that I guess is the equivalent of just like a security planet where they're just everybody they have footage of everything.
The surveillance state planet.
Yeah, and they're like, I didn't realize what was happening at first because Ruthie's like, I want to go, and she's like, no, it's you can't. It's gonna fuck with you too much, and she made the right choice in my opinion, based on the fact that when Kara comes out of this room, she's got 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah. She like I picture her like she went in this room to be like, okay, I'm gonna look at the footage of the recordings of what the brigands did on this planet, and then it was like Clockwork Orange, with like her like eyelids being held open so that she couldn't like blink and look away from the horror on screen.
Because prior to this point, all she's seen is aftermath. She's only shown up after everybody's dead. So it's like. So this is the first time she's seen, and it's not even a first hand, but she's seen like at least footage of what they're capable of, and they've been described too. But like actually being able to see it is something different, which again is very much probably Tom King going through this himself, type of thing.
Yeah, again, like Tom King has seen some shit. He is not well.
He is not well. Yes, and Supergirl is like, we got to go. And this is the scene I was talking about, the next planet they go to. This planet is called Yala? Yala. It's called Yala. And they've captured one of the brigands, and he's not remorseful or anything. He's like, look, I killed some of you guys. I had fun. This is basically what is happening here. And then they stone him to death. Like, yeah, I don't mean like they gave him a joint and he died high. And like, no, they fucking
it was a biblical stoning.
This is a biblical fucking stoning.
But it was like that old school public execution where just everyone just throws rocks at him. But he was being an asshole like right before that, like when they were asking like any last words, it's like you were saying, he's like, it is what it is, at least I had a good time killing you dumb people.
Yeah, the sad thing is that like Ruthie's talking about, it's like this mostly known for their very nice pottery, but I saw them stone a guy to death, so I didn't see any of that stuff they were known for. And then I like this line. This is the line I was talking about earlier, where she goes, I know he surely deserved his fate, but I thought you have saved him, or you would save him. And Supergirl just goes, did you? Because again, if this was a Superman story, he would have been like, people, Vala, I get that he wronged you or whatever, but he should,
Capital punishment is not the answer.
He should face justice, not like... He should have a trial and like jail time and like stuff like that. And it would have been this long speech about how awesome he is, and they probably would have listened to him because he's Superman. But Supergirl is like, nah, fuck, I just saw footage of these fucking people. Fuck that guy.
But here's the thing about this scene that like when I think about this is that like I'm just speaking for myself personally, like, oh yeah, like I'm actually like, yeah, I'm against the death penalty. I don't think we should put people to death. Like I think like the fact that an innocent person who's wrongfully convicted of a crime could be killed by the state, like the fact that that's possible and we know that that's happened multiple times, it seems like a good enough reason to just stop doing that to anybody. However, if I was in Kara's shoes and I had just seen like all of this footage, like maybe like this guy himself, like raping and killing, like I knew for a fact, okay, like this guy has done like some serious like evil deeds that I will have flashbacks of seeing the images of for the rest of my life. Yeah, I don't think I would have stopped his public execution either.
No, that's the thing. It's like it's hard to argue against what Kara did. Because again, that's not what the story is about. The story isn't a Superman story. That's what makes it different than Up in the Sky, or even like it's if anything, it's closer to what John Byrne did with Superman with the General Zods and them from the little pocket universe where he before the exile happens where he kills them with the kryptonite. Like that's the thought process that's going. It's like you guys have killed billions probably at this point. Like you guys have been doing this for a while. It's hard to like be like, hey, you know, this should just never see the light of day again. It's like that guy seems pretty cool with what he did. I don't really know. The whole thing is fucked, but again, that's what makes this issue so dark, because the next issue, or not next issue, the next planet they go to is called Ekvik, which is it was a peaceful planet full of like essentially monks, and they didn't even do anything when they showed up. They just sat there while they got slaughtered, like, and they were just, as they chanted to their gods, according to
yeah. They have like this big like cathedral that like they lived in, like a big like I don't know like monastery, like Notre Dame Cathedral, like whatever you would call it, like a big holy site, I guess we could call it.
Like you never see the actual like bodies or anything, and I like how Supergirl just finally snaps. She's been like calm as much as she can this whole time among all this death and destruction. And
she's been in a Tom King story for so long that she's accumulated so much trauma on top of her previous trauma. This is her breaking point.
Yeah, and so she realizes if she stays there, she's gonna freak out and just start destroying shit. So she flies into the sun and basically just screams in the sun to like let out her rage and anger and everything about what she is seeing. And I like that that Ruthie's mentioning that like everything Supergirl does is holding back. And I see it in the way she walks, the way she breathes, the way she looks at things. Like she is faster than she could kill everything if she wanted to, but she's constantly having to just suppress, and then she feels like it hurts her. She's like she lives in a world of pain because of the fact she can't just walk around doing things. She can't just be upset about stuff. It's the world of cardboard speech from the end of Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah, from Destroyer, yeah.
It's like that, except that like Ruthie's explaining it through her eyes. She's seeing something that Superman and Supergirl have to deal with every day. And the fact that she flew off into the sun felt like she needed that moment, and is kind of what she's saying. And the way it ends is really interesting, with Supergirl being like, look, I'm so close to getting the other, but she's so scared for Ruthie. It's the same thing about like the flight thing. She's like, I want to send you home, because Supergirl realizes just as much as Ruthie does, like at the end of the last issue, this is more than what you thought it was. This is no longer the mission to go to stop your father's killer. This is a mission to like stop a whole bunch of people from killing again. Like there's just so much, but and she's like, I don't think you're ready for this, is basically what she's telling her. But I love Ruthie's response. She's just like, you've been through so much, and you were just a girl what does that make me?
Yeah, like you were a kid when you had to deal with life and death shit too. So
And yeah, it's great. I love it. It's a wonderful moment, and I love the fact that she doesn't really have to say anything. She just does the same thing of like, get on my back and we'll go fly.
up,
It's the
up and away.
same. It's the same thing that happened before. She's like, I will do what I can to keep you safe, as long as you're willing to accept that this shit is way more than we thought it was. And goddamn, is this a really good book?
And then the narration, it's scripted beautifully with the way that Ruthie describes them as like we're like these two work mules on a farm, like each arguing over like having to carry the load and having to carry the burden, and like I don't know, just there's so much character. Like Ruthie is so well realized. One of the impressive things of this story is that whenever you're telling a story about like a like a big famous iconic character like Supergirl, it can be kind of annoying if you're like, well, okay, this is actually going to be the story of Ruthie Marie Knoll from the planet where Chrome killed her dad on, and it's like I kind of want a Supergirl story. But when you have a really compelling character and like a deep dimensional realized fleshed out character that you can connect to, it's pretty impressive, I think. It's not like the first Hellboy movie where it's like, okay, I came to the theater to see Hellboy, I wanted a Hellboy story, but I'm getting like an Agent Myers story featuring Hellboy. Like, it's not that. It's like, oh, Ruthie's story is actually just as compelling as Kara's.
Yeah, it's kind of the reason why I wasn't that big of a fan of Hellboy 2, because I kind of liked that about Hellboy 1. Because that guy just sort of disappears.
Yeah,
and,
they overcorrected and erased him from the sequel.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that way. And so this book is, it's very much like that. And there's a lot of, Hellboy's a great example of that. There was another one that I kind of Terminator 2 sometimes does that a little bit with Linda Hamilton's describing John Connor's story with the Terminator, because once she's in the picture, she starts narrating what she is seeing of like John having fun with the Terminator and understanding John's feelings through her interpreting what she is seeing, even though you yourself are seeing them almost the same way. But I've always been a big fan of that, because there's something fascinating about like looking through the lens. It makes the character that much more legendary, if that makes sense, when it's viewed through the eyes of somebody who's not part of their world. Yeah. Like, it's like the way Lois describes Superman and her writings.
Yeah, but it's like my night with I spent the night with Superman, is the name of the article she writes in the 78 movie, right? But it's basically like this tome that we're reading from Ruthie's POV is basically her writing like my adventure with Supergirl. Like, you think you know Supergirl? Like, I actually spent some time with her one time, and this is what I witnessed.
And what's great about it is that Ruthie is just as much as a unreliable narrator at times, that you're not 100% certain what she's writing is true or not.
So I'm going to not spoil but tease something for the remaining issues, but we've already read some stuff in here that the future issues will reveal that she might not have been entirely honest about. So
yeah, I'm very excited to see to read the rest of this. The more I read it, the more I understand why this is as beloved as it is. The more I read it, I also remember why I wasn't super keen on reading this originally. Because when you read a Tom King story of any kind, you have to brace yourself for some weird, dark shit. I still remember reading his The War of Joke and Riddles Batman part of his run.
That was good.
And it gave the most depressing backstory to Kite Man. It was so fucking dark. It was like, he's like, he had a daughter, and then she was killed by, it was just like, like all the time you read it. I don't remember the full thing, but I remember being like, I don't think I want to read this anymore. It was so dark, but it made me love the shit out of Kite Man. Don't get me wrong. Like, between Tom King and Harley Quinn, Kite Man became one of my favorite Batman characters. But you have to go through a lot of dark shit to really get at the end of a Tom King story, because Tom King, he's really good at good climaxes of a story, depending on what the story is about. The reason Heroes in Crisis doesn't work is because that storyline doesn't know what it wants to do. The reason Mr. Miracle does is because he knows what he wants to do there. Same with Up in the Sky. But when you read something like Human Target, you're like, this is just asinine type of thing.
Joel in the live audience is mentioning really liking the Strange Adventures book that Tom King did. And I only read the first issue of that, but I really liked it. And I want to go back and read the rest of it because I liked the first issue.
I want to try reading it again all the way through because I read it as it came out.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with Strange Adventures is that it's a giant mystery. It's a mystery book. But it goes up its own ass pretty quickly, which is why it gets harder to keep up with because it starts going, but what if? Maybe this, maybe that, but what if? And so you're just like, if you're reading month to month, your brain has a harder time putting all the pieces together.
Totally.
Which is why I don't know if I liked it or not, even to this day, because I haven't read it all the way through since it came out.
It's funny you bring that up. I guess we're going on a tangent now, but I just watched the latest Knives Out mystery movie from Rian Johnson on Netflix. Dead Man Wakes or Dead Man Walks or something like that.
Yeah, Dead Man, or Wake Up Dead Man is the name.
Yeah, Wake Up Dead Man. But, it got me thinking, like, man, movies are so much better at doing a mystery than, like, a TV show. Because, like, a TV show, something happens in episode 1, and then you have, like, weeks to, like, think about it, and people on the internet piece theories together and stuff. But, like, in a movie, you only have, an hour and a half, 2 hours, however long, to think about something. So it's easier to be surprised, I think.
Yeah, it really is. And it's just, like...
So reading a mystery over the span of months doesn't work quite as... Because, like, you forget the details and stuff like that.
There's a lot of details that just are a pain in the ass to figure out when reading it. And it's just like, I like this, but I don't know if I like this type of thing. Because there's so many things that get said, and there's so many things that happen that you find yourself going, wait, but that doesn't... But... And so you would have to, like, go back and, like, try to remember... type of thing. It's one of the reasons why Doomsday Clock was a pain in the ass to read at the time.
Yeah.
Because of how long it was in between stuff, so you had a hard time remembering things. So once I read the whole thing one after another, I'm like, okay, I actually really like the story.
Yeah, no, I love Doomsday Clock, reading it all as
one of these days, I'll go back and I'll read all of Strange Adventures one of these days. Because it's so dense in, like, text, if that makes sense. Like, there's so much to be read in it. The art is gorgeous. I don't know if I like it or not. Depending on who you ask, depends on if they like it or not.
That's the other thing about Tom King is he always gets really good artists to work with him.
Yes. I don't think he has a single artist that's worked with him that's bad. Even the ones in Heroes in Crisis wasn't too bad.
Oh, yeah. Clay Mann drew some gorgeous art in Heroes in Crisis.
Yeah, he's
I hated what it was, but it was incredibly well drawn.
Yes, it's the thing. Yeah, he was very bad about that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm really happy with what with Tom King overall. He's, like I said, he's a little better about that sort of thing than he isn't. I do have to mention something that I just found out right now, though. That's a little sad, is that a comic artist apparently has passed. Saul Buscema, I think is how you say his name.
Yeah.
Apparently he passed today. I didn't know that until right now. But
yeah. He did some incredible, some really good Spider-Man work and some really good Hulk work.
I think he did do a small amount of Superman as well. I think he did this... what was the time frame for that? I want to say it was the... I think he did some covers, if I remember correctly. He might have did some Superman covers. But no, that's a shame that he's passed. Oh, wait, no, apparently he did... He was the penciler for a few Superman stuff. Not a lot. Just a couple things. Superman, Man of Steel, number 65. And he was the penciler for a lot of Superboy, actually. 37 to 42 to 44. He that man was a legend. That
Oh,
guy,
like in the was that in the 90s during like the
yeah, this was like late 90s is when he did these. No, that guy was a legend and very much in his own right, and that sucks. May that guy rest in peace. The guy
yeah.
made some incredible stuff. But sorry, I didn't want to bring the room down with that, but
Oh
we're
yeah,
losing
no.
some amazing artists as time goes on. They're all up there in years. It's it's only a matter of time until we start losing them all.
Yeah, yeah, sad to see, but yeah, definitely one of the powerhouses of the comic industry. Well, I guess that covers it for the first 4 issues of Woman of Tomorrow. But I'm excited to get your thoughts on issues 5 through 8, and curious what anyone listening to us thinks. So please comment on YouTube or Spotify and let us know your thoughts on the first half of the story. Let's keep it focused on these first 4 issues, but we will discuss more next time. And then hopefully, if we get like a TV spot at the Super Bowl, we'll have something else movie related to talk about soon.
Yeah, we're really hoping that we'll see some more because there was I guess we didn't bring it up. There's more footage of Lobo out there right now, and so it's very, and he looks fantastic. You look at him, and you're like, well, that's Lobo.
Yeah, like I am so happy for Jason Momoa to finally get to play the character he's wanted to play for at least a decade.
Yeah, if anybody's deserved it, it was him, and I know he's gonna fucking kill it. He looks so fucking perfect. I'm curious, having read this story, I'm curious to see what he's going to be doing in the story.
Yes, because as you might have noticed, we talked about the entire first half of Woman of Tomorrow and did not mention Lobo at all. He actually does not appear in the comic, so I like that though. I like that it's not going to be like a carbon copy. I like going into the theater and not know every single plot point that's going to happen.
My only question comes down to the fact that, like, since considering how different it's going to be about it, like, I know there was the entire. Well, I know we mentioned all the war crime stuff first of all, but but also the fact that, like, I'm curious to how much of the trailer footage we've seen is going to be what she's going to be wearing, and whether or not she ends up wearing the Supergirl suit through the whole movie, kind of similar to what's going on in the story. Like I'm curious where that point will change, I guess is really what it comes down to. So, yeah.
Well, maybe the very end, maybe like the last scene, they'll do like a My Adventures with Superman season 2, and then it just end with a costume change at the very end. That I hope that they ditch in season 3 actually, because I did not like it. But
I hate that outfit. I hate those shoulder pads so much.
But hey, I just had like a cool thought to end on that. We're having fun talking about Supergirl in the comics. Maybe as we get closer to this movie, we'll also talk about some Lobo stories that would be fun to revisit.
We should look into that. We still need to look into the Supergirl movie as well, which I don't know if I'm looking forward to or not.
The Helen Slater movie. I am a rare fan of that. I can't promise it's a good movie, but there's things I enjoy revisiting the 1984 Supergirl movie. So yeah, we'll definitely do that too.
Also, let us guys know if you want us to revisit the pilot for the CW Supergirl show.
Yeah, that's an idea
as well. That's something we could maybe look into.
Yeah, because that would be kind of fun to compare and contrast to Millie Alcock's Supergirl. So we could also look at the Smallville episode that Kara first appeared on there. So.
Yeah, that's true. We could look into that. Yeah.
Laura Vandervoort or something like that was her name.
She showed up in Supergirl as like a Brainiac type.
Yeah, character. As a bad guy. Yeah, so there's some interesting things we can cover in the weeks and months to come. But until next time, as always, keep it super, y'all.